Salam alaikum. Good day. This is a high end private school in South Asia. A heavy silence greets the first arrivals. Teachers in crisp attire exchanging polite nods, a few in threadbare coats moving with muted caution. This room, meant for respite, already hums with unspoken tension. Here, we'll listen not to lesson plans or student progress, but to the stories and struggles of those who stand at the front of every classroom. This is a staff room. Polished shoes tap across mosaic tiles toward the central table, where conversations swirl about luxury retreats and paid educational conferences. Around the perimeter, other teachers linger, hesitant, anxious, counting the cost of every commute. Invitations to evening gatherings arrive as casual queries, but to many they are impossible obligations that test both loyalty and personal budgets. Each gesture, an accidental brush of designer scarves against plain shawls, reveals a chasm. Privilege blinds some of the quiet desperation of colleagues who must choose between a warm meal or tomorrow's transport fare. Empathy withers under the weight of unacknowledged differences. Tea steams in mismatched mugs. At one end, voices celebrate the owner's promise of small bonuses. At the other, worn hands absorb every drop in silent endurance. A mention of missing an extra class is met with raised eyebrows, an unspoken test of commitment. Critiques of methodology masquerade as casual advice, but the underlying message is clear: conform or be cast aside. Behind every chuckle and polite agreement lies an unspoken ledger of power. Commentaries on lesson quality, work pace, or personal attire serve as subtle reminders of who truly holds sway in these four walls. The clock strikes two, but for most, another shift begins. Decorating halls, preparing exam scripts, covering absent staff, all without a rupee more. Here, dedication is currency, refusal is career suicide. In many countries, such tasks earn overtime wages. Here, they become proof of devotion. The few who dare to demand compensation face thinly veiled threats. Questioning extra duties equals disloyalty, and loyalty in this place is the golden cage. Here, you see the silent punishment of dissent. Voicing exhaustion or asking for fair wages leads to cold stares and hushed warnings. A teacher who once suggested modest pay adjustments finds her workload quietly doubled. Another, for mentioning health concerns, is sidelined from key committees. Pregnant teachers learn that maternity leave is an unspoken path to replacement. Those who fight back risk both reputation and livelihood. In these halls, loyalty is weaponized. Dissent is the fastest route to the exit door. Yet, in unlikely corners, solidarity takes root. A shared lesson template delivered by silent email, an elder colleague slipping a lunch packet to one too embarrassed to ask, quiet nods of support when another voice expresses invisible burdens. Though profit scraping owners wage a silent war on empathy, teachers sow mutual care. It's here, in brief exchanges and unseen alliances, that the hope for change flickers, proof that even under capitalism's harshest weight, compassion can survive among those who teach. Beneath the polished veneer of faculty meetings lurk the real power brokers, teachers who've parlayed family or business connections into administrative titles. They boast of board seats and strategic partnerships, but their true mandate is simple: protect the owner's profit margin. They are the rule enforcers. They tighten dress codes, rewrite duty rosters, and quietly flag colleagues who ask too many questions, ensuring no extra hour goes uncompensated. And then there are profit evangelists. When instructional materials are cut back or class sizes swell, these administrators frame those cuts as efficiency improvements, cheering on every rupee saved, even if it forces instructors to buy chalk or photocopy handouts at their own expense. And then education becomes custom made. Curricula are reshaped not around student needs but around marketability. Robotics labs become marketing hooks, Cambridge style lessons morph into branded workshops, and extracurriculars are sold as premium add ons for fee paying families. Now, the insider perks. In return for their loyalty, these teacher administrators pocket bonuses and they receive equity stakes when a new branch or franchise is launched. The result, a two tier staff, a small inner circle shielding the owner's interests, and the vast majority, those without connections, bearing the hidden costs, longer hours, thinner pay, and diminishing rights. Education, once a public good and professional calling, becomes a custom made product sold at a premium and managed like any other retail venture. Now let's see how different classes share spaces in South Asia. In schools, offices, and hospitals across South Asia, it appears as though people from different economic backgrounds work side by side. But this visual harmony is a myth. Though a rich teacher and a poor teacher may sign the same attendance sheet, their realities are light years apart. They may share a room, but not the same emotional universe. This segment of the podcast is a meditation on why the elite, even while surrounded by poverty, often fail to empathize with it. And now, this failure is not a bug of privilege, but a feature designed over generations. Colonial hierarchies taught us that wealth implied virtue and poverty meant incompetence. This mindset lingers today. In elite homes, children grow up with domestic staff whose names are never truly known. These workers are expected to be invisible, efficient, and grateful. This childhood exposure trains the elite to expect poverty to be silent and accommodating. So, when the same children become teachers, doctors, or managers, they do not see their poorer colleagues as equals. They see them as slightly more literate extensions of the staff back home. Elite comfort results in collapse of empathy. Wealth cushions discomfort, and over time, it numbs the ability to imagine other people's suffering. The elite talk freely of spa retreats, imported lunches, and children's international admissions within staff rooms where others have skipped breakfast, not maliciously, but blindly. Empathy requires a certain emotional labor that the privileged are taught they don't need to perform. They assume that kindness lies in offering a cookie, not in questioning the conditions that make that cookie unaffordable for others. Now let's talk about misplaced meritocracy and the morality of the successful. A dangerous belief lies beneath elite thinking that they have earned everything, that they're smarter, more hardworking, and more disciplined than the poor. This is the myth of meritocracy. It justifies that comfort and denies systemic inequality. When a struggling colleague says she can't afford new shoes, the elite mind sees it as mismanagement, not misfortune. This lack of structural awareness is what transforms class difference into class contempt. The poor become scenery. Eventually, poor colleagues become background noise. Their presence is tolerated but not truly engaged with. Their problems, when voiced, are met with discomfort or silence. Worse, their emotional expressions, tears, frustration, exhaustion, are judged as unprofessional. But if a wealthy colleague expresses mild inconvenience, she or he is met with support and validation. To be poor is to constantly fear that your emotions will be used against you. Then there is social contagion, complexes, complexes across generations. Children of poor teachers watch their parents shrink in staff rooms. They hear about unpaid salaries if the children are fortunate enough to be in the same school. They hear about unpaid salaries, borrowed transport money, and unaffordable field trips. They grow up learning that dignity is conditional. These children enter adulthood already carrying the burden of inadequacy. They are cautious with dreams, they speak softly in meetings, they defer even when they are right. Meanwhile, elite children inherit confidence as currency. They interrupt, assert, and expect. The cost of silence and the need for reckoning. The real damage isn't just emotional, it's generational. When the rich fail to empathize, they also fail to make room. They take space, demand applause, and assume that others must adjust. To change this, we need discomfort. We need elite professionals to stop talking and start listening, not as a favor, but as a correction. Because in every staff room, where a teacher weeps in silence while another laughs over a vacation, a legacy of inequality deepens. Teachers face public humiliation, scolded before students and parents. In the middle of a lesson, the door swings open and in strides the principal or an owner's representative, often one of those well connected administrators we spoke of earlier. Voice drop. Students glance up in surprise. Without warning, the teacher is rebuked. Why is this class so undisciplined? I've received 10 parent complaints this week. The words cut through the room like a blade. The teacher's face flushes, her hands tremble. She is forced to apologize to parents right there and then, while her own young child, sitting among the students, watches in horror. Later at home, that child lies awake, replaying the scene, wondering how a person who inspires so many could be treated so cruelly. The humiliation doesn't stay in the classroom, it follows the teacher through the corridors, into evening prayers, and across the dinner table. This public shaming serves multiple purposes for the management. By delivering reprimands in view of students and parents, they reinforce the owner's supremacy. Anyone who might speak up in staff meetings understands they too risk a future lecture under fluorescent lights. Parents, believing the school's marketing, often side with the administration, thinking if she can't control her class, maybe she's not fit to teach. And when the teacher's own child sees this spectacle, it seeds fear and doubt. Can her mother really be a good teacher? Should she ever aspire to stand at a podium herself? In these moments, the school's polished image fractures, revealing an ugly truth. Under a veneer of prestige, teachers are expendable, and their dignity is the cheapest price managers can extract to preserve profit and authority. Now, let's talk about some other ways private schools exploit teachers. Now, the facade of family. In glossy brochures and morning meetings, private schools in South Asia often present themselves as more than institutions. They're families, but beneath that warm vocabulary lies a colder reality. This segment exposes how many private educational institutions exploit teachers in the name of loyalty, using emotional rhetoric to suppress fair compensation and career growth. Romanticizing loyalty is a manipulative strategy. School owners often romanticize loyalty. They praise long serving teachers not with raises but with applause. She has been with us for 10 years, they boast, as though survival without financial growth is a badge of honor. Loyalty is rebranded as a virtue, especially when it benefits the employer. Any teacher who questions a policy, asks for a raise, or considers leaving is quietly marked as disloyal, greedy, or not team material. And then profit hoarding. While teachers are underpaid and overworked, school owners enjoy substantial profit margins. New campuses are opened, advertising budgets soar, and gala events are hosted with flair. But the teachers, the ones grading exams at midnight and preparing lesson plans on weekends, rarely see a fraction of those profits. There's no profit sharing model, no bonus system, not even transparent accounting. Loyalty, it turns out, is a one way street. Seeking better pay is a taboo. When a teacher decides to leave for a higher salary elsewhere, the narrative quickly shifts. How could you, after everything we've done for you? They're made to feel like traitors, even if their pay barely covers rent. School leaders equate career mobility with betrayal. Loyalty is expected but never reciprocated with financial fairness. And the new teacher who replaces them, they're told, don't expect too much too soon. We value loyalty here. Then there is emotional blackmail and guilt culture. Private schools often use students as emotional currency. The children will miss you. They need stability. These phrases are designed to guilt teachers into staying put. Not because it's good for the teacher, but because it's convenient for the administration. Meanwhile, those same schools rotate administrative staff and marketing heads freely without any emotional appeals. The emotional weight is reserved only for the educators. And now there is homework for teachers, which is actually a theft of time. Many private school contracts end at 2 p.m., but teachers routinely take work home. Exam checking, curriculum planning, event organizing, all expected, none compensated. Their personal lives shrink to accommodate unpaid labor. Family dinners are delayed, sleep is compromised, and burnout becomes the norm. Yet the school celebrates them in social media posts, calling them superheroes. Recognition replaces compensation. Loyalty becomes a trap. Ultimately, loyalty becomes a tool of control. It discourages ambition, suppresses questioning, and rewards silence. Private school systems in South Asia and beyond thrive on this imbalance, projecting care while quietly extracting maximum labor for minimum wage. To truly support educators, we must challenge this culture. Loyalty should be mutual and compensation should reflect contribution. Let's talk about the glamour and the grief. Private schools in South Asia present a polished front, glass walled classrooms, imported furniture, Cambridge curriculum, robotic kits, and Instagram worthy events. But behind this facade stands a tired woman or man, the teacher, whose reality is anything but progressive. This podcast is not a rant. It is an X ray, a deep exploration of how private school teachers in South Asia are being crushed under a system that profits off their silence. Now, there is this illusion of prestige. In South Asia, teaching at a private school is often considered more respectable than public service. Parents beam with pride when their daughters land a job at the Learning Grove or Roots International or Bayview. But what they don't see is this: a person working 6 days a week, underpaid, micromanaged, and treated as replaceable. There is no pension, no medical insurance, no union, and no voice. The school brags about being a family, but like all toxic families, obedience is demanded and dissent is punished. Now there is this legal vacuum, a job without rights. Unlike teachers in Finland or Canada who are protected by labor laws and union contracts, South Asian private school teachers are offered nothing but goodwill. There is no contract security. Many are hired on verbal agreements. If they fall sick, the pay is deducted. If they ask for a raise, they are labeled difficult. If they get pregnant, they are often quietly phased out. Objecting to workload or unfair treatment can get you fired, with no severance, no notice, no recourse. Teachers are expected to stay late to organize school events. They take work home, checking papers till midnight, planning plays, decorating bulletin boards. In developed countries, any work beyond contract hours, especially substitution, extracurricular management, or even student assessments, is paid separately. It's called overtime. In South Asia, it's called commitment. Refusing extra duties, that's ingratitude. Questioning them, that is insubordination. What is the global standard of substitute lessons? Globally, substitute teaching is a job role with its own pay scale. If a colleague is absent, the covering teacher is compensated. But in South Asian private schools, the class is simply reassigned. No discussion, no compensation, no recognition. Teachers who resist are threatened with blacklisting or public shaming in front of their peers. Pedagogy is for sale and it's not for all. That is capitalism's cruel joke. Here lies the deepest irony. A teacher is trained in global best practices, teaching children to code, analyze Shakespeare, conduct science experiments with imported kits. Yet her own child studies in a low cost, cramped school across town because she cannot afford her employer's fees. Fee waiver for one child, they say, as if that's a gift. Maybe for two, they whisper during admissions season. But the third child or the fourth, no waiver, no discount, just humiliation. So the teacher stands in class teaching equity while living inequality. So then there is the Sate culture, greed masquerading as vision. At the top of this exploitative pyramid sits the school owner, often called the Sate in South Asian terms, a businessman in the truest capitalist sense. He or she speaks of educational revolution while hoarding profit, builds campuses with fountains but won't give maternity leave, travels to EdTech expos in Dubai but asks teachers to buy their own markers. He gives motivational speeches on Women Empowerment Day but deducts salary for being late by 5 minutes. This is not entrepreneurship. It is modern feudalism dressed in blazers and logos. This is not just about teachers, it's about what kind of nation we are building. If those who shape the next generation are overworked, underpaid, and humiliated, what future can we expect? It is time to call out capitalism not just as an economic model, but as a moral failure in the context of education. Today's journey stitches together the voices of those we've met, the polished elite and the tireless educators, the silent struggling mothers, the managers praising loyalty, and the owners chanting vision, all under one roof. As we navigate this final segment, we'll unmask the single thread binding these narratives, excessive profit margins, and the unwillingness to share them with the very people who sustain their institutions. Private schools in South Asia market themselves as caring communities, places where teachers are family, but under the glossy veneer lies a franchise model designed to maximize margins. Each new campus is a milestone for branding, each gala dinner a showcase of wealth, yet behind closed doors, financial reports remain secret, and educators learn that their raises depend more on charity appeals than transparent profit sharing. We recall how loyalty is weaponized, heartfelt praise in staff meetings, but muted wallets when it comes to real compensation. We've listened in on staff rooms where designer scarves clashed with worn satchels. Here, multiple segments revealed the same truth, shared space, divided realities. The elite teachers discuss spa trips and art gallery openings, blind to the stress of peers budgeting for milk formula. The gulf spills over into classrooms where students internalize worth based on pocket depth. It's a cycle. Privileged educators fail to empathize, and their students mirror that divide, solidifying inequity in the next generation. Loyal teachers are celebrated, but only rhetorically. We've seen how commitment becomes a euphemism for unpaid overtime. Substitute lessons and event planning blur into expected duties with no extra pay. The emotional blackmail intensifies, guilt trips about children's needs, tearful appeals to stay for the kids, and the ever present threat of being labeled disloyal if one dares to ask for a raise or seek better opportunities. In each case, high profit margins remain untouched. No profit sharing model, no bonuses, no transparent equity. And then there is capitalism's tightening noose. We trace these patterns back to colonial hierarchies and modern feudalism. The Sate culture rewards accumulation, multi million rupee revenues, and zero paid maternity leave, marker purchases out of pocket, and mid year terminations without recourse. This is capitalism at its harshest, extracting maximum labor while minimizing cost. Schools celebrate Women's Day with speeches, yet deduct salary for tardiness by mere minutes. Every unshared rupee in profit deepens the moral chasm between mission statements and practice. Then we talked about generational and pedagogical ironies. A beautiful irony, enduring tragedy. Teachers trained in state of the art pedagogy prepare future leaders with tools they cannot pass on to their own children. Fee waivers for one or two kids, a token gesture that still leaves families in debt and shame. Educators preach equity and critical thinking while living the opposite, forced to send their children to cheaper schools, carrying home lesson plans and absorbing the cognitive dissonance of teaching hope they cannot access themselves. This double bind ripples into the next generation, solidifying complexes of inadequacy and entitlement. Let's share profit and power. As we close, remember profit without justice is exploitation. If institutions truly care about education, they must redistribute wealth, transparent pay scales, overtime compensation, profit sharing bonuses, and collective bargaining rights. Only by dismantling the silent walls, economic and emotional, can we turn private schools from profit driven franchises into genuine communities of learning. Thank you for joining this synthesis of stories. May we carry this clarity into our roles as educators, parents, and citizens, ensuring that the next chapter is written with equity, not exploitation. Thank you. Have a nice day. Make life easy for others.